Hello and welcome to the 25th episode of the Alpha Liz podcast. I am your host Quest, and joining me as co-host is former last-minute leader of the Combo Breaker Retro Room and leader of the Civil War FGC series, Renegade.
Hello.
Our guest today holds the record of 9 EVO championship wins, won numerous tournaments in different games, including Alpha 2, Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter V, Capcom vs SNK 2, Super Turbo, and more. A man widely considered the best Marvel 2 player of all time, but in more recent times, a content creator and supporter of the online tournaments. His name is Justin Wong, and he joins us now. Welcome to the podcast, Justin. How are you?
What is up? Thank you for having me. And yeah, I mean, online's been pretty good for the retro series. I would say that is for sure, and just been having a blast, just staying in the past actually.
Yeah, you've been a big supporter of it. I really appreciate it as a retro player myself.
Yeah, it's kind of what I grew up on. I grew up in the arcades, and it's like one of those things where like people would tell me it was back in the day it was impossible to put Marvel 2 and CVS 2 on like fightcade or the Bear, and that now it's just like they're like, yeah, we found a way to do it, and that was just the game changer for me. I was like, oh, all right, this is what I'm gonna be doing for pretty much the rest of my life right here. Is just playing these games, online capabilities, and it's good too, better than modern game netcode. Can't go wrong, really.
Yep. Well, I hope that's true. So,
Yeah, I think the most embarrassing thing like overall is we have a fighting games community where these devs have all of the money in the world and they're getting like their netcode is getting absolutely crushed by like hackers and just random Joes like working with emulators and shit from like 2002. And it's just pretty pathetic, but it seems to be turning with certain companies really recognizing how important net play is. So I'm excited for that.
yep, definitely. Renegade was telling me that he ran the first out-of-state Marvel vs. Capcom 2 tournament that you won, Game Time in Alexandria, VA. I'd like to get your perspective of this event first with Justin and then with Renegade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't know Renegade ran that tournament. Like like literally I was just pretty much kidnapped from New York to go to this tournament. I didn't even know I was even going into Virginia. Like I actually got into a car and they're like, "Hey, you want to go to a tournament?" And I was like, "All right." And I went to the tournament. Like imagine that. I could have actually been kidnapped. I could have been killed just because I was like a fan and wanted to play some video games. Wanted to play some Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Capcom vs. SNK 1. I didn't even know any better. I was 14 years old at the time, and I said yes. And five hours later, I'm in traffic in Virginia, and we finally got there. Obviously because it was super late. It was nighttime when we got there, and I was automatically put in the losers bracket because obviously I'm super duper extremely late for this tournament. So, and it was a very great experience. I met so many people, like just like first time there from Virginia, because I never met anybody outside of just the people that I met at East Coast Championship 5, and that was before they were doing CVS 1 because it's not out yet, and Mars Capcom 2 was out, but since they didn't unlock all the characters, they stuck with Mars Capcom 1, and just playing with the scene and everything was pretty darn awesome. It was pretty cool. And ultimately, I won CVS 1 and Morris Capcom 2 from the losers bracket. And supposedly the car broke. The person that drove me the car broke down, and I had to take a Greyhound by myself back to New York because I had to go to school the next day. And by the time when I got home, man, I'm gonna tell you, I got my ass whooped. That's for sure.
Yeah, so my memories of this, I started getting involved in running or helping to run and partnering at game time tournaments um, right after Marvel vs. Capcom 2 came out. And that was with David Fennell, Sparatic. and Sparatic would run the Marvel tournament and probably the CVS1 tournament, and I ran the Alpha 3 tournament and the ST tournament, and a player named Derek Perez would run the Third Strike tournaments whenever we had those. And I remember this one particularly because we would keep on getting calls. David would get calls from Psy, who's this kind of legendary cryptic figure in New York history, was saying, yeah, we're coming, you know, we're good, just, you know, whatever. And David was just exasperated, just be like, I can't move the tournament any further. Like, you know, we're stuck. And he's just like, put them in losers bracket. And, you know, it's fine. And so it's just this kid. And, you know, this little kid came up and was in the losers bracket. And I don't think you dropped a game. Just crushed everybody. And like the crowd was like around the cabinet, because it was, you know, everybody played on one cabinet. Was you like it was shoulder to shoulder watching him play, and and that's when you were running Mag Cable Cami.
Mag Cable Cami.
Yeah, and people were like just you know, just completely amazed, like, because before this, like, freaking Arturo Sanchez Sabin was coming down and kicking our ass. And, you know, there was a small contingent to try to ban him from playing because New York was too strong. Thankfully, that didn't really go anywhere. But yeah, it was crazy. And I remember at one of those first game tournaments, you played an ST, and I was able to like actually beat you with Balrog. And you, it was something you hadn't played that much at the time, and I was like, yeah, I managed just to knock him off one time. But yeah, that was really funny, and that was like basically the start, because the very next year was the run in 2001 with that culminated in B5, so it was, you know, ECC Midwest and all that sort of stuff, and that was pretty great time period. It was interesting, and now that I think about it, the fact that you were 14 at the time is yeah, that was a little not great.
I'll tell you, bro, I got in the car and just went to Virginia. I didn't even know. He said, the thing was he didn't tell me we're going to Virginia. He told me, do you want to go to a tournament? It's really close by. That's what he said. and I'm like, all right, as long as I get home, right? And he's like, yeah, I'll get you home, right? And clearly my man lied in both ways. He didn't get me home. And it was not close. It was literally like a 7 to 8 hour drive, because I just remember waking up to extreme traffic. So yeah, I mean, clearly, like I said, I was clearly kidnapped, and yeah, that was pretty crazy.
At least you got the W out of it. Did I ever tell you he randomly like sent me a computer to stream a tournament from? Like, what? He told me, he contacted me. He's like, oh, yo, I heard you going down to this North Carolina tournament. Like, is it going to be streamed? I was like, nah, I don't got the equipment. He's like, I got you. And then like he mails a laptop to the gaming center where the thing's going to be at. And like I like used it to record it. And then I was like, so I'm going to record it and upload it. What do you want me to do with this laptop? And he's like, oh, just keep it. And I was like, man, what the hell? This is one of those laptops that fell off a truck. So the moral of the story is, sometimes in the early days of the fighting game community, there might have been some shady characters involved.
Yep, there was definitely some shady characters involved, and I mean, overall, it was just great. Like, just thinking about it, it's crazy, but that was kind of like the start of just people knowing like who I existed, besides the people from New York, because I was actually supposed to go to B4, but Eddie Lee, because Eddie Lee was supposed to buy me was supposed to sponsor my ticket, but it just never went through. So I didn't go to B4. And then, yeah, that first tournament I went to was Game Time, the out-of-state one. And then that rolled into NEC, and then that rolled to ECC, Midwest Championships, and then B5. And then from there, I just got addicted to going to tournaments back, like just nonstop.
Yeah, and another kind of sense of context that this was right at the dawn of the Shoryuken.com era. Like Shoryuken.com was established from like basically the canons established it from FNet and Alt Games SF2 to make Shoryuken.com in December of 2000. And that's right when that happened. And like I have my account on SRK is like only like maybe 3 or 4 digits. Like I'm one of the first 10,000 members. And not that that means anything anymore, because who goes there? But yeah, so that kind of lifted off with that site, and all those things gained popularity, and there were like ranking events and all that sort of bullshit, like Apex Points.
Apex Points, Tips and Tricks magazine.
all of that sort of stuff was a big thing down there. So like that era is where I kind of point to, and I say the modern FGC was born there, in that year, in that time period. And so it was kind of a cool thing for even our paths to cross way back then.
Yep. So what was the level of competition like at Game Time compared to your local arcade?
Let's see. I don't really remember.
By the way.
I don't really remember the matches, but I know I would say I pretty much dominated. But the thing is that even in New York, I would say like during that time frame, I was dominating everybody at my arcade as well, even though like Chinatown was known to be as like this amazing arcade for fighting games. So yeah, I mean overall I was just beating everybody from my arcade, and even when I went to Game Time, and even when I went to Philly for NEC for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and as the thing is like Game Time as an arcade was probably a few tiers. Like I mean we had all the games and stuff, but it like the player levels weren't as high, and it took us a long time before we could even beat like the third or fourth best pet player from New York, let alone like say Justin or whatever. But we like by the end of Game Time's run, Game Time closed in 2002. We actually had some local players like Fumijin and stuff actually win tournaments with out-of-state comp present. Not Justin, but out-of-state players.
Yep. So your greatest success as a player has been with the Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Why is it that you excelled with that game in particular?
It's because when I was playing Marvel vs. Capcom 1, I was never able to beat Eddie Lee. Eddie Lee was like a person that a lot of people don't know who he is, just because like there's no YouTube back in the day or Twitch, but he was like the best East Coast player overall at the time, like before I came on the scene. And he would just play every game, like the Marvel series, the Alpha series, the Street Fighter 3. Like he was just amazing. And so when I realized I couldn't catch up to him in Marvel vs. Capcom 1, I literally said, this is some random thing, and I couldn't believe it happened. I was like, if Marvel vs. Capcom 2 ever came out, I will definitely be the best, and I will make sure that I'm better than Eddie Lee, right? And then I guess like 6 to 8 months down the road, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 did come out, and I couldn't believe it. So because I said that, I just kind of want to try to keep my word as much as I can. So I went to the arcade like literally every single day, waking up at like 9 a.m. to get to the arcade at 10 a.m. and just playing the computer, right? Because I didn't have a console. I couldn't afford a console back in the day, but I was able to just go to the arcade and be friends with like the token guys, and they would just give me free credits to like just practice. And
I mean, that made good sense for them, right? Because if they kept you on the sticks, like you were basically churning through opponents. So like they kept on getting more money if you were on the sticks. So that's good business practice for them.
yeah, I mean, I would it would be pretty often that I would get like almost like 90 wins a day during that time frame. So I would just constantly just keep playing and playing and playing, and it really got me in the grind. While like, and I'm a kid, right? So I don't really have responsibilities. While like, you know, like grown adults, they have to like go to work. They can only play from like 5 to 8 or something. And so I'm having way more game time than them because this game is not even out yet. I don't think the Dreamcast did not come out like yet. So you had to go to the arcade to play. And then like every time it also was addicting because the arcades back in the day didn't do the cheat where you just keep giving the cabinet credits to unlock characters. So we had to unlock the characters manually by actual like players. So it took a while for all 56 characters to show up on our screen. But we always were excited when a new character gets unlocked. It was like a Christmas present every day going into arcade.
Yeah, man. I remember when Sentinel dropped. And because Sentinel was like the last character to get unlocked.
The last 4.
Yeah, and as soon like literally the day he came out, Sentinel was winning tournaments. Because like I mean, more back then it was more of a trap-based game where you just threw a bunch of shit on the screen. And Sentinel was really great at that, obviously, and his assist was super great at that. So he showed up, and Cable Sentinel was born the day Sentinel was unlocked. So
it was great times.
Yeah, and I always I'm amazed, like as far as everybody considers you mostly like a Marvel player, but I was always amazed that I tell people if a game was in Chinatown Fair during that era, you were good at it.
Because the only reason why I played other games was because everyone called me a Marvel scrub. So they're meaning it was like you're only a Marvel player, so you can't play other games. So anytime I hear that, I go mad hard to prove them wrong. So that's kind of why I branched out, was literally because like everyone from like SRK forums would just call me, like at least from the West Coast side, would call me a Marvel scrub. Like he's only good at Marvel. He can't play like real games. Whoa. So yeah, that kind of ticked me off because there was like heated West Coast East Coast rivalry at the time, and I just like I would just automatically just get lumped into this random rivalry because I was born in New York, right? So so that's kind of the reason why I started learning every fighting game in the arcade, because I'm like, anytime someone wants to throw down, I'm about it.
Yeah, well, those criticisms didn't age very well, did they? So it'd be interesting to see what those people think now. When I talk to these, American OG players like yourself or John Choi and so on, the name that always comes up is Eddie Lee. I mean, what was the guy like as a person, and what was he? And what did you learn from him as a player?
I would say people know me as like a defensive player, but I think that Eddie is like the most lamest player like I have ever fought, just because he will literally like he and I would also say that my character choices probably go from him as well. Like he doesn't pick characters that revolve around the meta. He picks characters that fits his style. So I also do the same, and I believe that because of his influence, I do the same thing. So that's why a lot of times, like when you see how I play games, I don't pick characters that's very popular, unless the top tier fits my style, like Third Strike Chun-Li, right? But like other games, you can see like I kind of just stray away from specific meta types unless they fit my style. And bro, he's the king of lame, man. Like I can't even describe it. I had to learn offense to beat him. So that's how good he is.
That was kind of a thing back then where East Coast, like, East Coast, West Coast, I mean, surely it was put upon, but like there are definitely play styles that emerged from the two coasts. And the West Coast play style was pretty much defined by like Alex Valle and other players like that, where it's RTSD, rush that shit down. And they were really priding on their offense. And then on the East Coast style was about like lane play and, the turtle style, as it were. And it wasn't even just, Justin and Eddie, like, players like, Steve
Arturo,
Steve from Baltimore, Arturo, the Montreal players were hella lame.
Yeah, they were. JFL and Prez, bro.
Yeah, they were just like was it JFL was the cigarette guy?
Yeah, the one he's playing. He's the tall white guy smoking a cigarette while playing in the tournament. He's ECC.
Yeah, he was smoking a cigarette while playing in a tournament, and he literally wouldn't move. Like, you couldn't make that guy move to attack you. And this was in CBS 1, where that was probably a legitimate play style. But like, that the turtle style was very popular back then on the East Coast, and it caused like game time tournaments to run to 4 a.m. and stuff like that. So we really developed a regional play style about that.
But I'm also interested in Eddie Lee as a person. Was he like a loud person or a quiet person? Or was he funny? Like, what sort of how would you describe his
personality? I guess I would say that he's random. Like, he's mad random. Like, actually, like, he is like, before the word troll was a thing, I would say he kind of did a lot of troll things. Yep. Like, he's very funny. He's not really like, it's very hard for him to be serious, I would say. But like a lot of times he'll just really just want to play games and just lame you out. But like, as a person, he just wants to have a good time. Like, he'll always get people to go eat and then come back to arcade, play more games. That's literally like the thing when we would go over to his house, and he'll already have the game set up. He'll have food already ordered for us and everything, because he just wants everyone just to have a fun time. So yeah, I would say he's generous, obviously, as well. And he's a very degenerate gambler. I remember that four of us, we were playing blackjack at his house, and all four of us won like $500, and pretty much he bought all four of us Evo tickets because it cost $500. So he paid our round trip for four of us for Evo tickets. So yeah, I mean, like, he's, like I said, he's just chill. He's a very chill guy.
Yeah. One thing that I want to always know is that, like, I mean, I didn't really get a sense of him as a person, because I mean, I think I only attended maybe 2 or 3 tournaments he was at before he started leaving the scene. I mean, I think it might have been after 2001 he was pretty much done. Was there any ever a sense of like why he left the scene, and if he ever kind of wanted to come back or anything?
So he did disappear around that time frame that you mentioned, and that was kind of where like I was pretty much like running the show, like in Chinatown. But he came back at the end of 2003. At the end of 2003, he actually played at least for like 3 to 4 more years. He went to all the major tournaments, and he went to Evo.
Mm-hmm.
So like I pretty much kind of like got him interested again, because I don't think he was able to believe that I was better than him. So we had our own little rivalry in like every game, like Marvel 2, CVS 2, Third Strike, ST, King of Fighters. We'll just play every fighting game against each other. So because of that, like, that's kind of like, I would say, the reason why he stuck around for a bit. But other than that, I mean, he was just focused on day trading. Like he was like super hardcore into it, and I think he still is. And even during the time frame where I was where me and him
legitimate
were
gambling.
playing, yeah, when me and him were like playing each other in every game, and he came back for a bit, going to tournaments, he was like already like super like amazing at day trading and trying to explain like everything. He's like, yeah, like if you have fast reactions, you're godlike. If you're a godlike fighting game player, you'd be godlike at day trading, stuff like that. So so I would say that that's might be the reason why, because he just wanted to, get his real life stuff together and then come back to play video games.
The
Yep.
lesson I always kind of take from that, really, it's like when you talk about there's no people in your scene, all it takes is one other person. If you and that person are dedicated and you just want to beat each other and you're willing to improve to beat each other, that's all it takes is two people. You can keep any game alive, you can keep any scene alive, as long as two people have the will to play and the will to improve.
Yep. Later in the podcast, we have a segment where fans of this podcast submit questions, and I got many about Moment 37. How did you feel during it, looking back on it now, and so on. But I also got a lot of people saying, don't ask him about that, let it die. My question to you is, are you sick of hearing about this?
I mean, I feel like it's something where I don't really care about it. Like it's a great moment. Like I'm like it's amazing. But even now, if you see like social media, I have fun with it. I actually have fun when I'll even like quote retweet something about it. Like just today, like there was this somebody randomly tagged me about this video, and you see Ken parrying Chun-Li super in the corner, and then Chun-Li was able to super jump out after the parried up kick. So I retweeted, I quote retweeted, and I said I could have prevented history. What the fuck is this? Just in a joking manner. And then so stuff like that, I joke about it all the time, and it doesn't really bother me. Like I don't take it as personal compared to like possibly like other people that's sick of hearing stuff like that. But it's just more of like it's an amazing thing because there's so many times where people would mention that and talk about this is the reason why I got into fighting games. And I mean, I'll gladly take the L if this is the reason that you got into fighting games, because personally, the more people that play fighting games, the better. And I'd rather have like more people just enjoy fighting games, because personally, I don't see myself like ever stopping playing fighting games. I feel like 30 years from now, I'll still be enjoying playing fighting games. Even though if I'll probably suck at it, hands can't work, but everything, but I'll still have major fun because I don't know, I can't find the love from any other genre as much as the fighting game. Like it's just too freaking good to play.
Yeah. So one of the things that I'll make a comment and then I'll ask a question that's probably not asked very much about that. One is like, it was amazing for you to be in that match in 2004 with that tournament, with the Japanese contingent that it was there, with who you already beat in that tournament, and that there was Daigo and KO left. The fact that you were even playing there was a huge win. Like, I'm pretty sure you didn't expect to have gotten that far, and because like you were a Marvel player, right? And so everybody's like, like you got owned or whatever. No, back then, like any win against any Japanese players was huge, really big deal. So my question is about that moment. Is that when people look at that moment, what is the wrong lesson that they get? Like when it comes to like playing third strike, what is the most common bad take from there?
That's also another thing where you mentioned that people looked at me as a Marvel player. See, that's why I'm telling you, that's the reason why I went hard in these games, because people call me a Marvel scrub, only know how to play Marvel. So that's why I went like extra hard like during those years. And that's also the same time frame where Eddie Lee was my training partner. So we would play like high level third strike or high level any fighting game all the time. because he was that person to just really push me and make me understand like fundamentals and everything. But I would say a lot of people they look at that moment as the glorious moment, and it is a glorious moment. But like you said, like it's one of those things where there was a lot of Japanese players in that tournament, and I would say as one of like the the only Americans left starting like in that bracket where I had to defeat Kokujin, and then I had to defeat Rao, who just won SPO like the week before. Like I felt like it was just one of those things that it gave hope to like third strike players. Obviously, it brought new players because of the moment, but I think it also gave hope that damn, we can beat Japanese players. We don't have to we like you know what I mean like America's a lot of times Americans back in the day, even now, was like, oh, he's from Japan, he's too good, I can't beat them. Like that mindset was there, and I think during that time frame when I was playing third strike and beating like multiple Japanese players, it probably gave more confidence to other American players to step their game up as well, to just kind of stop forget about this West Coast East Coast rivalry and think about USA versus Japan.
Yeah, that was always really cool. I mean, and even after that though, there was always like, lower tier players all of a sudden would look at that and they would only see the parry, and they wouldn't see why the parry was necessary. And I had this guy who was just like, yeah, I can parry Chun-Li's super, and I was like, yeah, but like 99.9% of the time you don't need to, like just block it and you're fine. But like you have to realize that in that moment he had to, and so that's the wrong lesson. It's not that you can or you should focus on training that, because it's like, look, if there's not a chip situation and I don't F up, you're never going to parry that thing. But like, yeah, so that's the kind of lesson that a lot of people get out of that. But it was really kind of hype, and I'm not so into Third Strike anymore, but it did cause me to play Third Strike for several years, so that was fun.
Yep. In 2010, you participated in the reality show WCG Ultimate Gamer. What was the experience
I forgot
like?
about
this. It was good. I had a blast. I didn't have a cell phone for a month, and I was stuck eating Hot Pockets for a month. It was pretty bad. But I think just overall being on TV and just working really hard, like I'm not gonna lie, the game, I didn't like playing those other games personally, like racing games, sports games, shooting games. I just was not a fan of it. But I just think the experience of like a real life challenge and just being in an environment of not using like your personal technology, like it's you don't really get a chance to do that very often, right? So it really makes you think about other things, form like real friendships. So I'm still friends with like everybody from that show, which is pretty cool. And then yeah, I mean, just overall, I mean, it was pretty cool. I would say I lost a shit ton of weight for that show because I wanted to go on that show like skinny. So I felt like I was like, damn, all right. I actually didn't realize how much weight I lost during that time frame. But yeah, I just think that overall I was still pretty upset that I lost in a racing game while wearing a straitjacket. That kind of sucked. And you know what I mean? It just kind of sucked. I'm gonna be honest with you because
that show was mad cheap, man. Like
when I looked at the finals, when I looked at the finals, like it was like 3 games, and I'm like, well, like I'm good at rhythm. I'm good at rhythm games and puzzle games, so I felt like I would take Rock Band, and then it was BlazBlue as a second game, and I felt like I would have took BlazBlue there as well. So the chances of me winning like first place would have been super high if I was able to learn how to drive while wearing a straitjacket. I think that was the dumbest thing in the world, and I'm pretty upset about it.
I always thought it was really dumb that a show ostensibly about who was the best video game player, like they made you do surfing challenges and stuff like that. I think that had the implication that somehow being good at video games isn't good enough, you know?
Yeah.
And that they were like, oh, you need to be good at real world things too. I didn't like that vibe it gave off. And thankfully, we have shows that don't do that anymore.
I mean, you got me crashing the car. That was pretty cool.
Did you even have a license at that time?
No, I didn't. I didn't have a
Yeah,
license.
I remember you saying at the start of the clip, like I haven't drove before or something, like I don't have experience
Yeah,
at all.
I actually didn't have a license, and the crazy part was, I actually practiced driving in a garage, in a parking lot, supermarket parking lot at like midnight, and James Chen was the one coaching me on it.
Really?
Yeah, so that was pretty funny.
Just like a universal coach, James Chen, you know.
Yeah, he was super
Yeah.
scared. He was super scared. He wouldn't let me drive back home. He would only say you can only drive during the parking lot.
He was like, "Is it gonna stop? Is it gonna
Is it gonna
stop?"
When you were like recording the show, or when they were recording the show, did the producers ever tell you to like act up or like to do a second take or something like that?
Actually, no. It was they never asked us to do anything like scripted or whatever. So overall, everything was like pretty much like our own reaction, unless like somebody wants more airtime, so they're going to act, way more exaggerated than they really are, which probably did happen. But I would say for myself, I was myself throughout the whole entire show.
The next segment is questions from the fans. Our first question is from Zabo. I kind of want to see a Street Fighter Alpha 3 tier list from him. So will you
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think I'm like capable of making a proper Street Fighter Alpha 3 tier list, because like I only know how to play one character in this game, which is V Sakura, and I know how to be cheap with her, but
And that's because of Ricky, right?
yeah, it's because of Ricky, and just like watching her play at the time, and she was like, yeah, just copy what I do, and then I'm like, okay, and then that was it, right? But I don't know any matchups. It's just because Sakura is just so easy and good. Like you don't like there's certain games back in the day you don't need to learn matchups. You could just bully your way to victory, or like prioritize your way to victory, because your character's like frame data is just so absurdly good. So yeah, I mean, like if you ask me like, oh, how's like Blanca or like these other characters, I would be like, they suck because I play V Sakura. That's just my totally honest answer, that I have no knowledge besides the tournament matches I have played. Like I know V Akuma's good, I know V Ryu is good, Dhalsim is good. Like all the characters I play in tournament, like I know that those are good characters. But there's so many other characters in this game that are like I have never fought before. And if I probably fought like an expert in Japan, they would wash me. They would destroy me because they probably got all these crouch cancel combos and everything. They'll put me in the infinite.
Is there no chance of you creating an Alpha 3 tier list?
I would say maybe if it became to that time where I started like just playing the game more. I mean, we do have the technology of do the fightcade, right? So I can definitely learn more characters, but right now I'd say there is no chance right now because I'm just in the CVS 2 and Marvel 2 kind of like phase right now. And then obviously when any new fighting game comes out, I'm always about playing them because I'm really obsessed with learning new fighting game characters, mechanics, techniques, how to win in the game. Like I'm very obsessed with that type of stuff. So it wouldn't be on a top priority list for me to learn more about Alpha 3.
Okay, fair enough. Our next question is from CVS_Pro. How much does he charge to play me in CVS?
Oh, I mean, just come to my stream and then say you wanna run a set, and that's it. It's free.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm down to play whoever, as long I only play games when I stream. Like if you ask me like when I'm not streaming, I'll probably like tell you, oh, hit me up when I'm streaming. But when I'm streaming, if you're in that invitation list of idol, I'm down.
Yeah. Throw me a few coins if you want to do it off stream. Maybe that's the other answer.
Yeah. With Bear, they gotta be kind of close though, because like really far away connections.
That's true. That's right. Your ping, the max ping I'll play is 92.
Okay, that rules me out then. Okay, our next question is from Unessential. His first question is, how acceptable does he think online fighting games are right now on a scale from 1 to 10 when it comes to tournaments?
When it comes to tournaments?
Yeah.
Oh no, man. When it comes to tournaments, I have a thing where I do not enter online tournaments because I feel like I have a lot of positive energy in me, and I feel like if I enter an online tournament and I lose because of like lag or rollback, like that, all that positive energy is gonna go away, and I'm gonna get that bad juju, and I personally don't want that, so I refuse to enter online tournaments. But I don't mind promoting and running it. I will always do that. That's free. I can do that. But I would say I am just not a fan of.
I'd also say that he's asking more broadly about it, so not just specifically about you entering them. But how acceptable do you think online fighting games are for the community when it comes to these tournaments?
I think it's great.
It gives a scale 1 to 10 as well.
Yeah, I think online tournaments right now is great, just to bring people together, and just play. I would say, when we've been doing the retro tournaments, we've been getting some good viewership, and everyone always wants to enter. So, and we get some good prizes. So I would say, let's say I'm gonna give it like an 8.5 for online tournaments. It would be a 10 if like anyone in the world would be able to participate, but I don't think we can do that yet, actually.
Okay, his next question, Unessential's next question is, Unessential is the best Chun-Li player in the Canada, right?
What? No way. What? Wait, hold on. Oh, he's the best player in Canada for Chun-Li?
Best Chun-Li player in Canada, right?
Well, the problem is that I'm about to be a Canadian, so you could be number 2.
Oh.
You gotta convert to playing Chun?
I already played Chun in ST. If anything, that's a counter pick character for me.
Okay, next question is from Zosima. What were his experience of SBO like? Have Japanese players changed since then?
Oh, SBO was great. I love SBO, except for the last year. But SBO in general is such an amazing experience. You get to meet all these players, play them at really big sessions, because they come all from Japan. They have to travel from like Osaka, Kyoto, really far places to play in SBO. It's very intense because it's one single game, single limb. So overall, I think it's just like an honor. It's kind of it really brings that it's like such an honorable tournament. Like, I don't know, it just makes it feel so important and so hype. But the last year, the last year it was trash. I'll say that because one, it was outdoors and during August. If you've never been to Japan in August, it's like the hottest place on earth in August, and literally they had a tournament outdoors, right in the middle of nowhere. It's freaking hot, no AC. The arcade cabinets are literally lagging because they're being overheated, and when you try to fight Sea Viper, who does flame kicks all day, you think you're going to be able to see the flame kicks during the glare of the sun? You're not seeing a damn thing there. So, yeah, it was complete trash. I felt, oh, my God, I was sweating so hard. It was just such an uncomfortable situation to be in. But, yeah, overall, Japan's great. SBL's great. Just not that last year.
Okay, cool. Our next question is from Partikin. Ask him why he hasn't picked up Dragon Ball FighterZ. And what does he think of the game?
The reason why I just don't like Dragon Ball, I love Dragon Ball the series. I'm a big fan of watching it. I collect the figures and everything. It's just the gameplay is just the same gameplay of every character. I feel like every character is the same mix, same block string, same way to call assists. It just seems there's no variety, and like there's no style. Like, I don't like the fact that like I can't find a style. Like, I'm forced to rush down. Like, the fact that I'm forced to rush down makes the game just, it just doesn't make it appealing to me. When people tell me, yo, Dragon Ball is like Marvel, I'm like, stop, don't disrespect Marvel like that, because it's clearly not. But I personally am a fan of watching it. I like watching the combos. But I think in terms of the gameplay, it's literally whoever in block first wins.
Well, I think he partially answered the question, but he said, would he mind? The second question is, would he mind if the next Marvel game played a little more like Dragon Ball FighterZ?
Oh, no, please don't. Please don't. Like, come on, man. Like, no one wants to see the same offense. Oh, I'm not trying to see like characters that are known for zoning to just forget all that and just only do offense. I'm definitely not about that.
Our next question is from Solidus. Could you ask him why he mainly stuck onto Storm, Wolverine, Akuma in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, when in most of his other main games he mostly played the top tier teams and characters?
You see, that's what I'm saying. It really depends on my style. Like, if you look at the other games that have top tier characters, like they fit my style. So like if you look at Marvel vs. Capcom 2, like I played Storm, Sentinel, Cyclops, but like that is a very like low tier version of a top tier team. Like it's top tier, but like in the low tier area. So, but the thing is, it just fits my style. I just don't like Commando. I think he sucks. He's boring. Like, yeah, I just personally am not a fan of that character. And the reason, and like CVS2, I mean, I would say I play a top tier team, but not a super top tier team as well. I play Vega, Chun-Li, Sagat. Vega's a great character. And then Chun-Li, I think she's amazing, but I would not put her in a top tier area. I mean, Sagat is universally just, I would say, fits anybody's style, right? Third Strike, Chun-Li's already so fluid. That's already my bae right there. But Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I felt like I'm not going to play Phoenix. I'm not going to play Morrigan. Not going to play Zero. Not going to play Virgil. Not going to play Doom. I feel like those characters just never really clicked with me in terms of like fun. So I just played Wolverine, Storm, Akuma. And that was actually my first team I ever played in vanilla Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And to me, I felt like this team was just so fun to me. And even now, like when I watch Marvel vs. Capcom 3 matches, I'm not a fan of watching it unless like I'm playing in it, and it has to be my team I'm playing. So I'm very like picky with it because I feel like my team is just the greatest team on earth, even though it's not. But in my hands, I feel like it's pretty good.
Was the year you win? Was that the same that Xian won with Gen in Street Fighter?
2014? Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. Okay.
Our next question is from Enter Sandman. Has he ever had any video game related injuries, like for example carpal tunnel syndrome or tendonitis?
Not yet. I don't think so. I feel like my hand's been still moving just the way it normally does. So yeah, I don't really have any issues. I know some players do have issues that have said it in the past, but yeah, so far so good on my end. Hopefully it stays like that for a bit more.
Yep.
Ergonomics.
Our next question is from Mobius. How do you get better at playing lane? I feel like I'm overly aggressive as a player and want to find a better balance.
Oh man, I would say that's a pretty tough one. It really comes down to you as a player to understand risk and reward, right? So when I'm playing a match, I think about like, okay, if I do this offensive risk, what is the percentage chances of me getting anti-aired or me getting countered hit or just me being put in a bad scenario if I guess wrong or if my opponent guesses right. So there's a lot of things that people they're just greedy, right? And if you're greedy, like you might take the L because you're overly aggressive because of the greed. I would say me, I really just wait it out. Even if I'm down on life, I'm completely down to wait it out. A lot of people, let's say you have 20% life left versus somebody that's 50% life, and there's 60 seconds on the clock. Why must you have to end the game at 45 seconds when you're down to 20% life? I feel like you have at least 50 seconds to prepare some type of offense where if you can get back the life lead. So why do you think that 60 seconds is about to end when it's actually not? You probably have a minute and a half of in real life time to think about some type of strategy to get the W. But a lot of people want to go in, and that's the reason why they're overly aggressive, because they don't use the clock to their advantage. So I would say for people that want to play more lame, just take your time, use the clock, look at the clock. It's not going down fast. It's not like you have 10 seconds left on the clock. The game announcer will let you know that time is running out. So use that as an indicator on when to go in.
I always would. One
it's from Quincy Pawns. Ask if he feels like if newer fighting games nerf zoning and turtling as playstyles, and why, since he's the world's quotation marks lamest player.
I'm the second world's most lamest player. Eddie Lee's the first. I always say that. But the reason why I would say fighting games now are more towards offense, it's because people find it boring to watch. The casual player will find it very boring to watch. They want to see some boom boom bow bow kapow action. And I mean, it's totally understandable, right? Easier combos, easier execution, and just more like dynamic offense of just craziness happening. You don't see like craziness happening when you're on the defense, because most of the time defense really is pretty kind of like anticlimactic versus an offensive attempt where like pretty much a gamble, a hard read can just change the tide just like that. So that's why modern games are more aggressive, because they're more explosive. Offense is very explosive while defense is not explosive. And ultimately at the end of the day, they need to ship these copies out. So you have to make the game exciting.
Yep. Our next question is from Rizwan. What does he believe his biggest achievements are, since he has so many?
The biggest achievement? I don't know. I guess my biggest achievement is probably winning Marvel 3 at EVO in 2014. And the reason why is because I got second the year before in 2013 with my team Wolverine Storm Akuma, and walking down that hall of shame. It's like the hall of shame. You walk down that hall and everyone is telling me, man, you played so good, and you'll get them next year. You'll win next year. And in my head at that time, I'm just like, no, I won't. Like, I'm not going to win next year. Like, it was so hard for me to get there with my team. Like, why would you think I'll get there the following year? And then the following year, I'm in top 8. I had to play the person I lost to first winner semis in top 8. I beat him, and I'm in winners finals now. Never been there winners finals in Marvel Capcom 3. And I just felt the crowd. The crowd was cheering my name. They really wanted me to win because obviously I'm playing my team versus everyone else is playing the meta. And, like once I won, like, I almost cried actually on that stage. And yeah, I would say that was my greatest moment, just because I don't think any other victory made me cry, except for that one.
Yep. Our next question is from Crazy Funster. I'd love to know if you ever got to play World Heroes 2 Jet or World Heroes 2 when they were new.
I played World Heroes, but I don't know which world. I think I played the second one, but I don't remember. It's the one that has 2 options, where it's regular match and a death match. And I never played it seriously. I just played with my friends, and I played Rasputin because he looked broken. And the way he just spun, my man just did a spin, and you just couldn't stop it. And yeah, that was it was fun, especially deathmatch. Deathmatch was amazingly pretty fun. If there was a tournament, I would enter it for sure. So let me know if there's a tournament.
See, yeah, I'll let you know. Our next question is from Somniac. But just to clarify, also, Crazy Funster guy, I think he runs the World Heroes Discord. So I'll ask him,
that's cool.
And I'll let you know if there's one. Our next question is from Somniac. Is he worried, or does he have any comment about the new Capcom streaming content policies?
I would say for me, I don't have any worries about it, just because like I guess when I do stream Capcom games, I don't use any like mods, like character mods, or I took down like specific emotes I already had that resembled like Street Fighter characters. Like I had a Monot one, so I took those down. And anytime I like use content in terms of like re-streaming or re-watching, I'm always commentating it. So I guess on my end, I don't have any worries about it, but I do think it kind of sucks just because like there are a lot of content creators that really rely on like Capcom footage in general just to make a living or to be better as a content creator. So I think it does suck though. But I mean that's kind of the life we gotta move on with, like current potentially current DMCA laws and everything, right? A lot of it's getting just strike down at this point, so just gotta adapt to it.
If you wanted to like really learn how to be lame or to be a particular type of player, what I always did in arcade or casual maxes is put artificial limits on yourself. Say like if you're playing against somebody that you normally are competitive with or get wins in, just like say, okay, I'm gonna play this round, but I'm not gonna jump in like at all, and try to win with that limitation on yourself. It's like it's like exercising with weights on, that you learn to work within that self limitation and you learn how to respond in different ways. That's what I always did in order to try to work on my defense and uppercutting, because like you can be Ryu, and if somebody jumps in, you could do down fierce, and that works most of the time, but you really want to get the uppercut down for the extra damage. So you kind of have to tell yourself in casuals, always go for it, no matter what. And that usually is how you improve.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely did that for combos and execution, because a lot of times when you practice something in training mode, it's very hard to bring that into a real match. People will just forget, and you autopilot to what your hands are used to. So yeah, you have to think about it to like get certain tactics and learn certain tactics to make sure it becomes your flowchart tactics.
I do have a question, kind of, when you talk about combos and stuff like that, and I've given you shit over this for every now and then. Everybody kind of talks about like how your style is like you play very basic and you keep it very basic and stuff like that. And now everybody knows you can do the technical stuff, but you tend to stay very like, what is the term? Very unoptimal or whatever. What is your thought process about that in terms of risk and reward? And is it something that you do out of habit or you do on purpose?
I would say it's because of like when you learn a specific like tactic or does something that can enhance your gameplay, a lot of times you abuse it, and because you abuse it, you kind of lose the whole like your whole other game with like fundamentals and everything. So perfect example is roll cancel. So roll cancel, when I see people roll cancel, they abuse roll cancel. So they forget. I feel like they forget characters' normals, their footsies. They just forget all this other stuff that resembles a fighting game, and they just rely on roll cancel. And sure, roll cancel is like abusing roll cancel is amazing, but I personally don't want to lose what I enjoy how to play fighting games the most, is playing footsies and with punishing and everything. Like, so that's kind of why, like, for that example, I never was optimal in CVS by adding roll canceling, because I feel like it would just take away with just understanding footsies and neutral. So even up to this day, when I watch like high level Japan footage, or even when I play against Japan, like I will whiff punish them every single time. And they really rely more on towards like the optimal stuff, where roll cancel is like the preferred thing to do, right? The preferred risk and reward thing to do. But it just doesn't make me feel like I want to do it, because I'm not a fan of taking risk and reward in that factor. Okay. Which is another reason why I don't like playing Bison, because I'm not trying to go dice roll and Cycle Crusher.
the follow-up to that is, what game out of all the ones that you have played throughout your career, what do you feel that you have to be the most optimal, that you have to play the most sharp and be the most fresh in order to even be competitive at the level you want to be competitive in?
I would say Marvel 3, just because I played the team I played. And I actually learned so much of my team, and just because there's nobody else that plays my team or plays anything close to my team. So I had to come up with all the different tech, and then I had to come up with ways where I'm like, all right, if I hit this character really needs to die, because I don't want to give this character a second chance because of the amount of explosiveness that can do. So I personally feel like I have at least 100% learned everything about like my team, or just even the characters I play on my team, at least to the point of current today's like knowledge of the characters. And even now when I'm like in training mode, I still find little tricks with the team. So it's just always really cool to
I think
find.
I think you're the only one that I remember ever seeing doing the Storm TAC Infinite. Like, so she's got one, I think.
Yeah,
And I was
she got
like,
one.
yeah, I was like, I don't remember anybody else doing that. So, I was like, yeah, you have to put some effort in that game because everybody else kills you in one hit. So,
Yeah, especially with
that,
my team, I have to put a lot of effort into it.
mhm.
Okay, let's talk about the Alpha games. What were your Alpha 3? Let's talk about Alpha 3. What was your first impression of Alpha 3 when it came out?
First impression, Alpha 3, I picked the V Cody, and I thought he was really cool. He has a little dodge thing. Um, and I didn't know how to properly play Alpha 3. Like I didn't know how to do combos or at least the VSM combos or anything. But I thought overall like the Alpha 3 was just amazing. Announcer was amazing, a lot of characters. And then when playing at a high level, that's when all the broken stuff came out. All the broken stuff came out, and it got me interested to learn one of these broken characters. And then I saw V Sakura, and I'm like, wow, this is just the perfect character for me in terms of footsies, just anti-airs, neutral, just the custom combos, and everything about the character was perfect. All the other top tiers was I was not a fan of. Like there's Vyakuma, best character in the game. I didn't really care about this character. The Dawson was never my type of character. And then there's V Sodom, and then I didn't really like I like V Sodom, but I didn't like his Vism. When you pick V Sodom, his normals are different compared to like X Sodom. And I like X Sodom's normals, but I don't like V Sodom normals. And that's why I stuck with Sakura, because she was like literally a character that can fit my playstyle.
You said Vyakuma is the best character in the game. Do you mean like literally he would be better than Delson in your eyes?
I mean, if you get hit by a sweep from Vyakuma, the game is over.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and you know what this thing is? I guess because I play V Sakura, I never felt like Dawson was a threat, because like even though Dawson can get out of custom combos with the teleport, you're not supposed to do it against Sakura, because if you do it, she's instantly next to you and she can hit you before you recover, and it pretty much resets the damage. You're actually unable to do it against. Well, you can do it, but you should not do it against V Sakura.
Yeah, but it's just interesting because a lot of people say he's very strong, like you're saying, but usually just behind Daleson. But you're saying he's actually even better than Daleson, so it's an interesting perspective.
It's because it's
Yeah.
like his custom is unblockable. You can't get out of it. Like if you just
Yeah.
sweep, activate, fireball, demon flip, you actually got to take the L right there. That's crazy. You're not even comboing me. You just put me in a mix up where I can't block. That's actually insane.
Yeah. Every time Akuma gets full meter, you're guaranteed damage, and that's what makes him so scary. He doesn't even have infinites, but he's pretty ridiculous. The Japanese kind of tier list is much different than Americans ever got to. Like they put Sodom and Karen up really high, and I think even Sagat as well, because of like how well they can get into infinites and their defensive measures and stuff. But Akuma's still at the top.
In a video you did recently called "The Best Player in North America," you played QQG or Lance. He said he could have played better. Are you open to rematching him?
So that match, like pretty much my friend told me like, oh, this guy is too good. He's like the best. So I'm like, all right, I'll play this guy, right? And I would say that I'm down to play him. But like his best character is Cody. Is his best character Cody?
Yeah, Cody and Sodom. But yes, Cody is pretty.
Okay, yeah, so I played as Cody, I played as Sodom. They were both really good. It forced me to play a different play style that I haven't played in a while, right? I didn't throw eventually like the fact that I knew that he could crouch cancel, I didn't throw any fireballs, or I barely threw any fireballs, and I really played the footsie games. And I would say I outshined him when it comes to the footsies and just saving my custom meter because I would just save it to activate, right? Um, so yeah, I would say in terms of that, I'm down to play with him again. Just don't play. Just don't start the match with Blanca, bro. That was his fault for starting the match with Blanca. You know what I mean?
I I have a question. So one of the things that we were looking forward to in Evo this year is the invitational for Marvel 2. And a big thing was like basically chaos. And my hypothetical is if you take 2020 chaos and you dropped him back in say 2004 to 2006 Marvel Evos, do you think he wins any of those?
I would say actually thinking about it. So I don't know if you saw, but Chaos recently lost to Mr. Pasadena, his MSP,
Hmm.
and it forced Chaos to counterpick with MSP back. And that was the thing at the time where like there was a lot of MSS players, obviously not as optimal as Chaos, but there was a lot of MSP players back in the day. And even I was using MSP and my Magneto was really looking good. I have won lots of majors with MSP or just Magneto in general. So I would probably have played MSP against him back in the day just because I would not want to lose compared to now where I would just want to play Storm Sent Cyclops and try to beat him with that the hard way. So
Hmm.
I would say the counter picking would be a lot much more fierce. And he's like I said, he's an amazing player. He's probably the best at the moment, but he's not perfect. He has flaws. I think his defense is pretty butt. It's pretty crap in terms of defense. Offense is a 10 out of 10, but his defense might be like a 4 or 5 out of 10. He doesn't like to block. So a lot of people I would say if they put him in this mix up of a just Magneto Psylocke, it's just gonna stay like that. So he would definitely be the favorite, but I could definitely still see him losing. And he has been playing Marvel for like over like 10 years as well. And it's,
Hmm.
it's just that he just didn't hit his stride until like later when most people just moved on, right? And
Yeah.
then he just kept going, which is great because the things he could do with his combos are just insane. He makes it look like X-Men vs Street Fighter Marvel's Capcom 2, which is great, which is cool.
Yeah. I, I
Yep.
I see stuff that he does and that I've never seen before in the game,
Yeah,
and I'm just like, holy shit! I didn't like no one thought to try.
Yep.
yeah.
So
Okay, so I'm gonna move on. So you've been playing on fightcade lately. Are there any Alpha 3 or Alpha 2 players on fightcade that you didn't know about that surprised you when you played them?
I would say more for Alpha 2. Like Kyokuji, I played Alpha 3. He was really good, so that was a treat. But I didn't get any other like matches in Alpha 3 that I remember in terms of like how good they are. But Alpha 2 actually is, I would say, pretty darn popular with a lot of amazing players. So like I ran an Alpha 2 tournament and there was so many great players in that tournament and so many characters that were being used that I never knew that were good actually, right? Like Slamtown with his birdie, I didn't know that character existed actually. And then Bunny Kondo with his guy, great, amazing guy. And then the one person that destroyed me in Alpha 2, he's an old school player, but I guess he never went to tournaments, but he plays on Fightcade pretty often. Was OCX Rida, like he won my tournament.
Yep.
But when I first played him in Fightcade, he destroyed me with a quick 5-0 with his Rolento. So yeah, I would say overall, like Like in Alpha 2 Fight Case, it's pretty darn perfect, I would say. It's like there was no lag at the time. Like he really just destroyed me, and he destroyed the whole tournament too as well too. So it's kind of cool. And
Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
I would say he's just an amazing player. I guess like him and Vaya go way back actually, because Vaya was telling me like how like he trained him when he was growing up, but he just kept with the game, which is crazy. So it's nice. It was definitely nice.
Yeah, he's been destroying people in his Alpha 2 tournaments. He's been winning the Sprite Mix tournaments, and he won the Alpha 3 Vendetta tournament as well.
Oh damn, who does he play in Alpha 3?
Um, I want to say he won with Daleson. Yeah.
Okay.
I do have that reminds me. You mentioned Birdie and Slamtown, and he asked me what your favorite grappler of all time is.
Favorite grappler of all time, like in any game?
Yeah, because you have let's say a history of your feelings towards grapplers.
I mean, dude, grapplers are degenerate gamblers at this point. Bro. Like we all know this. But if I had to choose a favorite grappler of all time, it would have to be Potemkin, because I main Potemkin in Guilty Gear, and he's cool. Actually, he's actually not a grappler. He's actually a footsie character, but he's just a footsie character for command grab.
All right, I'll let you get away with that definition, but thanks. Yeah, that's funny. I remember you always, even when we played in SF4, how much you complained about Geef because you
Bro,
had to
he was
play.
brain dead.
Yes.
You just mash medium punch. You could mash it while closing your eyes and out footsie people. That's how fast and dumb that button is. Come on. You know it's true.
I know it's true. That's why I played him. Because I didn't like thinking. You always said, I hate playing Geef Fighter 4.
Yeah. And then I switched to Rose and Elena, and I'm like, all right, it's not that bad anymore.
Yeah, then it was done.
You played in the 2018 SoCal Alpha 3 tournament, which OCX Rider was also part of. Being eliminated by Mucky, who's going to be a future guest on this podcast. Did you get a chance to play Japanese players in casuals?
I actually didn't get a chance to play, so I'm gonna tell you a crazy story. So I played in the Alpha 3 tournament, right? And then on Saturday, qualified for top 8. And then I had to take a flight to NorCal that same day because it was my friend's birthday, and he couldn't come down to SCR. So we celebrated his birthday, and literally we were up till like 4 a.m. Flight was at 6 a.m. So no reason to sleep, and flew back, and then top 8 was at 10 a.m. So I was just zombie status, right?
Yeah.
No excuse though. Maki was still would have destroyed me even if I was fresh. But yeah, that was probably the reason why I didn't get a chance to play casuals, because I had like other other plans at that time. But overall, I thought it was great to be part of a official Capcom Alpha 3 tournament for some prize money. I thought that was really cool. And plus, all the Americans didn't think that I was going to do very good at that tournament, even though I was the highest placing American in that tournament. Thank you very much.
Did she play X or I know she plays Chun, but did she play X or did she play
A? A.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen much of like Version, Mucky, and those sort of players? Did you see much of their footage before playing in that tournament?
No, I actually did. I actually did not. I just went into the tournament just straight, like raw dog, and just entered the tournament just because I wanted to enter the tournament. That was the only official Capcom tournament I entered, because there was 3, right? There was one ST, one Alpha 3, one Third Strike, and I only was able to enter the Alpha 3 one.
Well, you made a good choice. Thanks for doing that. Okay, I'm putting you on the spot here, but you've been supporting the Alpha 2 tournaments. Are you open to supporting Alpha 3 tourneys, like the Maturino ones?
I mean, I'm down. I just need some commitment. Like I need to guarantee at least 32 players like to show up. If you can promise me 32 players in Alpha 3 tournament to show up, I will run an Alpha 3 tournament with good prizes. So the ball's in your court. Just let me know.
All right. Yeah, I'll let you know when more people are running tourneys.
Yeah. It's a bit tougher because I mean on fightcade and just in the US in general, Alpha 2 does clip a little bit higher than Alpha 3, and so I think that's a big
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Okay, I have just two more questions, and then I'll let you go. Thanks for staying past the hour. I appreciate that. When I had James Chen on the podcast, he talked about the importance of sponsorship and monetization for commentators, content creators, and players. What things need to happen to further this, whether it's as individuals or as a community?
I think I would say it's more about consistency. So, prime example is obviously 2020 is a shitty year, no tournaments and everything like that, right? So a lot of people started streaming, which was great, because streaming in general for fighting games is quite low on Twitch, like very, very low. But it was, I would say, this year, well, 2020 was at its highest peak for fighting game streaming. And obviously there would be supporters from the chat, a lot of people that normally didn't get a lot of like subs or donations were getting a lot of subs and donations because they were like that viewers like Netflix. But eventually, the numbers kind of dwindled down in terms of streamers, and I would say that's a bad decision because if you hit your stride and you're being consistent, people are gonna notice. I just think when it comes down to the FGC, they just don't like to see like 15 people watching or 30 people watching. But the thing is, like, it's not like streaming is hard. Like it's not easy. Like I think people just take it like how like it's supposed to be very easy, which is completely false. But I do think that if people were streaming a lot more and creating content just for YouTube and everything, and just doing it consistently, like it's kind of like an investment. You have to really just invest your time into it and your money into it to at least see some type of possible return. And if not, then you're still doing it as like, you're still enjoying fighting game because it's your passion. So I just think people think of it too much as a job versus a hobby. And it's meant to be more of a hobby than a job, at least still at this point. Obviously, there are people that are successful with, making money in fighting games, but it's literally like 0.0001% of the community being successful in that category.
Yeah, it's tough to be successful. I don't have the drive or the patience. And anybody who does, like, hats off. Like, I know you got a young kiddo at home. Congrats on Harper, she's awesome. And I got a new kid and stuff. And for me, he makes it impossible. But I do tip my hat to everybody who can do it.
Yep. Okay, my last question for you is: you came to Australia twice, once for BAM, once for Shadowloo. What were those experiences like?
I had a blast. I would say Australia is an amazing place. I would love to go back another time. My wife has family there, so I would say we might visit at some point when things are better. But I would say Melbourne was great. Great tournament, great people, lots of international talent. Shadowloo Showdown was great. I went there in 2005. And yeah, the tournament was great. I won like probably like 19 out of 20 tournaments there. Like I won every tournament except for Tekken Tag 1, and I got second place at Tekken Tag 1. So I was really close in sweeping the whole tournament, like super duper close. And I played Toxie in like majority of the finals. So that was pretty cool because Toxie was like probably the best Australia player at that time overall in multiple games.
Yeah, he plays now with Alpha 3 mainly. He's like the top
nice.
player.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then I would say the funniest part about me going to Australia was it's a 24-hour flight. First of all, during 2005, they didn't have a good route, so it was 24 hours from New York. That was brutal, right? No TVs as well at the time. Old fashioned airplane. But when I landed, I got questioned. They're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm here for a tournament." They're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "It's a video game tournament." why would you come here for a video game tournament, stuff like that. And I'm like, and they started searching my stuff, and I had a Nintendo DS, right? And they said that we went through Nintendo DS, and it seems like it has some drugs in there, like cocaine. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, like the machine said that it has cocaine in it. And I was like, nah, there's no way. You can unscrew the Nintendo DS if you want to check if there's cocaine in it. And then they looked at me and looked at each other and said, all right, you're good to go. And I was like, damn, they tried to get me like nervous or something. I was like, whoa. And then, yeah, that was my experience in Australia in 2005.
God, I've never heard of that before. Like security guards actually telling you, just like falsely telling you that there's drugs in your bag.
That was great. And I was like, how old I was at the time? I was 20 years old at that time. Imagine that.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on. That was my last question.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, also good talking to you, Justin. It's normally in a year, I see you once or twice a year, and this year has been, and this year has been not pretty good. I was really like, man, losing Combo Breaker and it like that being canceled and stuff. That's like the one event I really get to like super enjoy, especially with the retro stuff there. But hopefully we'll be back soon, and I'll see you some more.
Yeah, I mean, last year at Converger, like I was in the retro room literally the whole entire time, and it was a blast. I had so much fun, and it really is pretty sad that 2020 was how it is, and I don't know if 2021 will be any different, or at least maybe like the first 6 months at least. Yeah. But hopefully 2022 seems like the more appropriate year to look forward to actual things getting back to normal. So hopefully we get to see each other pretty soon.
Thanks for tuning in to the Alpha Lives podcast, proudly sponsored by Free Play Arcade.